to the penguin? Well, this question is everywhere. Even it appeared on Donald Trump's and the White House profiles. Also across the internet, people are asking the same thing. What exactly happened to that penguin? Why did it behave this way? Why did it walk alone toward the mountains? So for that, we will answer these questions in today's video. Also, we will focus on the facts, not the questions or the document. So today, we explain what happened to the penguin. But before we do, if you don't subscribe to my channel, just subscribe. Okay, let's get started. Anyway, before I explain the penguin story, some people may wonder what this penguin topic is about. Reels, stories and statuses are everywhere today. For those who are confused, here is a brief background. Then we will see what happened to that penguin. We will also understand why it walked toward the mountain. First thing is, about 15 years ago, there was a world famous filmmaker named Werner Herzog. Well, he is known for filming animals in the raw natural state. Also, he traveled to Antarctica, often called the edge of the world. He stayed there to film a documentary showing what life is truly like there. One of his unique documentaries was released about 15 years ago. It is titled Encounters at the End of the World. A clip from this documentary has recently gone viral because this clip shows a large group of penguins in Antarctica. Those penguins usually live close to coastal waters. Even look at human civilizations itself. Historically formed near the rivers and seas because that is where food is available and cultures develop around reliable water sources. So the same way Antarctica penguins must stay near the coast. If they don't, and going deep into the ice means no access to food because nothing grows there, making survival impossible. So that penguins remain along the coastline. But within this large group, one penguin stands out because all the others move toward the sea to find food. But this one penguin stops and slowly looks back. Behind it stands a massive frozen mountain. The mountain is nearly 100 kilometers away from this penguin. But the penguin passes and looks around. On one side is the sea, on the other side is the mountain. This side has a food and safety lay by the sea. That is normal life. Yet the penguin turns away and starts walking toward the mountain, but it can never realistically reach the destinations. Even so, it keeps moving in that direction. Okay, so this movement went viral, and many found out it's motivational. As I also flagged, it was inspiring, not following the crowd but chasing your own path. People also compare it to the film characters who stand by the billets. They saw it as choosing a different path instead of the usual one. For many people, for me, it felt positive. But globally, however, others saw it differently. As I mentioned before, this clip comes from a 15 years old documentary. Also, you can find the depressed penguin clip on YouTube. So what they actually claimed is the penguin was mentally distressed. So they suggested it left the group due to abnormal behavior. Despite no food ahead, it kept walking toward the mountain. Many repeated this idea across social media. Some even call it a nihilist penguin. It means as a penguin disconnected from everything, as if nothing exciting it anymore. But others imagine it as choosing isolation by choice. Everyone formed their own explanation, but President Trump viewed it positively. Like many others, he saw it as staying on one's path despite opposition. Those who opposed him mocked that comparison. Overall, that's the part of the wilder debate. The penguin leaves its usual path after sensing something different and following it. So this is the matter of the clip is really about. Now let us add context. Viewing the scene alone, it feels philosophical, right? But before we making the logical arguments, let me clarify this point. This is only one way to interpret the scene. Now, let us examine the facts. What actually happened and why did the penguin walk that way? But basically, the explanation is uncomfortable. It is neither inspiring nor uplifting. The penguin was said to have neurological issues. So let me explain this clearly. The documentary actually says that the abnormal behavior can occur in penguins. Even some lose normal behavior patterns, unusual actions are observed at times. For example, penguins need stones to build nest, But finding stones in Antarctica is very difficult because due to constant ice. So they collect small pebbles instead. Male penguins often gather and guide these pebbles. A female may stay with the male mainly to access these stones. Basically, this creates a practical system almost transactional in nature. So the stones are used to build nests and raise chicks. Then they lay eggs and carefully protect them. Females often form bonds to secure the nesting materials. But this behavior offers a fascinating insight because we accept this in humans, but it is unusual for penguins. The documentary closely studies such unusual behavior. In this case, the penguin's walk is described as a path to death. From a scientific view, it is a fatal journey. But the penguin is unaware of this because some penguins suffer from brain related damage. This may be caused by viral infections or head injuries. It can also result from neurological stress or lack of food. When the brain malfunctions, it mistakes the sea for mountains. Its internal navigation reverses, making it think food is ahead. So the penguin does not choose this path, its brain sends wrong signals, believing food is that, so it walks toward the mountain, but it can never cross these distinct mountains, nor can it reach the sea on the other side. For a short time, it survives by burning body fat. Takes humans as an example. If we skip food for a day, nothing serious happens. Even the next day, a healthy person is usually fine. So the body uses stored fat to support basic functions. Not healthy, but life continues anyway. But overall health weakens. So humans have enough reserves to cope for some time. In the same way, penguins also store body fat, but after a long walk in extreme cold, those reservoirs broke down. Eventually, the penguin weakens and collapses along the way. That becomes its unavoidable end. A brain-related condition leads it there, and the journey ends. You may notice scientists nearby in the footage. There are researchers, yet not step in. Early, scientists sometimes brought such penguins back. They returned the penguin to the group, but it soon walked away again. So, this behavior is common, not limited to one penguin. Even when brought back, it follows the same path. This has been seen before. Also, the filmmaker explains why no actions was taken, because there is also an international agreement. Basically, the treaty is about penguins must be allowed to live naturally. Humans are only observers in Antarctica. We are not allowed to interfere. Already humans interfere with wildlife and domestic animals. We have entered habitats and restricted many species to prevent a similar fate for Antarctica penguins. If a penguin walks away, it must be left alone. Interference is not allowed, even if the outcome is known. So the humans have no authority there. There is a strict rule against disturbing penguins, so no one step in. The penguin simply walks past the observers to its death. It remains a striking image, so these are the scientific facts behind the clip. So there is no need to go further. This is the factual way to understand it. Brain damage, infection, trauma, or lack of food cause this condition. Due to biological or psychological issues, the penguin moves in the wrong direction. Still, there is a philosophical angle. It is like films such as KGF. No one lives like that in reality, right? People do not chase ghosts with such extreme intensity, but films shows this to build character arcs. If you see only the endings, the character seems irritational. So understanding the past explains those actions. Basically, situations shape that journey. Society also plays a role. In the same way, this penguin strongly believes something lies ahead. Its mind pulls it forward and it moves without hesitation. But what I find beautiful is this: unlike the others, it is a dreamer and follows its purpose. At that moment, the penguin faces a choice. It may wonder why it walks this way while others go the opposite direction. Despite the doubt, it decides and keeps moving forward. We could say this is where the mind takes control. logically the others are right. They move towards safety. They can clearly see the water right in front of them. Still, a choice remains to walk in the opposite direction. A scientist named Dr. Ainley appears in this documentary. She says we should not compare this behavior to humans. Penguins and humans, she explains, are not the same. She insists this is natural penguin behavior and should not be humanized. Then comes Werner Herzog, the man who asked why. He described them as depressed penguins. Also, he adds that humans experience similar emotional states. Look at the researchers here. Why would anyone choose Antarctica otherwise? Would someone live in Antarctica without a deeper reason? Child, partners, and family life back home? Leaving everything behind, would anyone stay there by choice? That too for months or years only for research work? Would someone leave the country and home just to escape society? He compares the humans there to these penguins. He approaches it from a philosophical angle. In an interview, he says we should not chase fads all the time. Some ideas, he says, are meant to be flat as art. Sometimes we must simply enjoy the art. Sometimes we must simply enjoy the art found in nature. We do not need to constantly prove how intelligent or logical we are. At times, appreciating beauty alone is enough. That is his view. We do not need to over-logical everything. This documentary was made to highlight philosophical beauty. For me, this documentary ultimately represents courage. The courage to turn back in what I call true thinking. In life, we sometimes make choices that appear irritational. Naturally, everyone questions those choices, but we act because we believe deeply. That belief drives our decisions. First, this felt like that kind of decisions to me. Everyone who achieved greatness was once seen as unreasonable. Take any great individual as an example, every meaningful achiever was once called unreasonable. Safe and logical thinking rarely creates change. Only extreme courage drives such risk. I see this penguin the same way. Overall, this is the story of that famous penguin from 15 years ago. I have shared the scientific and practical explanation with you. It is also meaningful to view it philosophically. People are free to choose the perspective they prefer. I value both viewpoints, so engage with both. Share your perspective with your friends. For those asking about the penguin's fate, share this and note that it ended long ago. It ended 15 years ago. No one went back to confirm the outcome. From a practical view, it ended there, but philosophically, same compared to shuriken cat. Until we observe it directly, we cannot know what exactly happened. Also, logically, the answer is simple. It must have ended. I do not know for certain what actually happened, but if it had not ended, what do you think followed? Again, the same question remains. Where would hope exist then? I let this philosophical thought open for you in the comments. You can share what you believe happened. I have given the logical and practical explanation. But before we end our video, now you can share your philosophical view or personal thought in the comments. So if you like this video, just subscribe, like, share. Bye everyone.